sit down close to the front, you'll probably be able to see better. Welcome, welcome. All right, so the agenda for the next hour or so is to look back and to also look forward. We're going to look back and we're going to look forward. Part of our looking back is going to be hearing from 3 different individuals and teams about our summer missions trips. We've got a team that went to Nicaragua, and we're going to be hearing from the Crumleys about that. We've got a team that went to Uganda, and by a team I mean my wife and daughter, and Zeke. And then a whole bunch of people that went to Mexico. So that's the plan. So we'll start with the mission side of it. And at the end, if there's any time left, I'm going to talk a little bit about some stuff that's coming, stuff to be excited about in the next year. So come on in, have a seat. Feel free to come and go as you need to, but quietly so that we can all hear. Let me start us off with prayer, and then I'm going to hand the microphone over to Katie, and she's going to tell us about what the Lord is doing in Nicaragua. Gracious Father, we thank you for a beautiful day, a chance to gather and worship with your people, to hear about what you are doing around the world in your church all over the world. And I thank you that we get to be a part of that ourselves and through our friends. We pray for this next bit of time as we hear back about that. I pray that we would be encouraged. I pray that those who went would be encouraged and that you would be honored. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, Katie.
Good morning. We were blessed again this summer to have the privilege of going and serving in Nicaragua. And many years ago, we did start a nonprofit called One by One Incorporated. That's what you see up here. And we do primarily serve in Nicaragua. We've always said that we're open to serving anywhere, but God has taken us to Nicaragua for the glory of his name. And so I just wanted to show you a little bit about where Nicaragua is. For those of you that don't know, on the picture on the right, you can see where Miami is. And if it's a direct flight, which are hard to find these days because Delta doesn't fly there anymore, but a direct flight takes 3.5 hours. So it's quicker to get to Nicaragua than it is to get from the east coast of the United States to California. And on the picture on the left, I wanted to just you can see the capital, Managua, where the star is. That's where we fly into. And if you look on the east coast up towards the Honduras border, you'll see Puerto Cabezas. And we'll be talking about that again in just a minute. So if you'll just have an idea of where that is in your mind. So these are just a couple of the sites that you see in the capital city of Managua. The picture on the right, if you fly into Managua at nighttime, you'll see they call them the trees of life, and they're all lit up. There's a lot of story behind all this that we can talk about later. The picture on the left is a big rotunda. There are a lot of traffic circles in Managua, and this is one of the big rotundas there with a big, beautiful Nicaraguan flag. And this is just a little bit of the culture in Nicaragua. The picture on the left is the picture of the National Palace, and pretty much anytime we take a group to Nicaragua, we travel to see a lot of the sites in downtown Managua, and this is one of the sites that we see. But in the 20 years that we've been going, we've never been able to go in until this year. So this year, we were able to work it out to get permission to go inside. So you'll see some pictures of that in a minute as well, but this picture on the left is what I'll be showing you the inside of. So this is a lovely picture of Granada, Nicaragua. Granada was the original capital of Nicaragua. It's an old colonial city. It's a beautiful town, and this is actually one of my favorite places to go. We did not get to go this trip, but it's a lot of fun and a beautiful place to go. Wanted you to see a few of the foods of Nicaragua. The picture on the left shows your gallo pinto, which is their national dish. It's a rice and bean dish. And you'll see the tajadas, which are fried plantains, and a little strip of cheese. And then the picture on the right is cacao, which is kind of like a watery chocolate milk, but that's their national drink. So I wanted you to see a little bit of the food in Nicaragua. Picture on the right is tostones. On the left is the cabbage salad, the ensalada that you'll see pretty much at every meal in Nicaragua. And these are some of the animals that you'll see in Nicaragua. This little guy on the upper left hand, when I mentioned Granada was one of my favorite places to go. I like to go on a boat ride out on Las Isletas, the islands, and there's this little island that we love to go to that has a number of monkeys. So this little guy we made the picture of there, we call it Monkey Island, but that's a lot of fun. Just a quick view of the markets of Nicaragua. These are not great pictures, but nonetheless you can see. And I'm talking really fast because we just have a short time. We have 3 presentations today, so please excuse me. Nicaragua is also known as the land of lakes and volcanoes. So there's 2 different volcanoes here, and I just wanted you to be able to see some of the beauty of Nicaragua. And I love going to the volcano. This is Volcan Masaya. Where we minister in Veracruz is in the Department of Masaya. So that's kind of like we live in the state of Georgia and we live in Watkinsville. So we minister in Veracruz, and Veracruz is in the Department of Masaya, and this is the volcano that is in Masaya. And you can see at the very tip top of the volcanoes, there was a Catholic priest when he first arrived to Nicaragua who planted a cross there because he felt like it was the the mouth of the devil, I think is what he said. So there's a cross that's planted there, and that's pretty neat to see. So these are just some pictures of Volcan Masaya. This picture on the right, I do have a video of this. I didn't drop it in this video, but you can really see the lava at night, and that's pretty cool. This picture was taken on this trip, so this was a nighttime picture of the Volcan Masaya. And this is a new signage that they've added, I guess, for photo ops. And these are just a couple of more views of the lakes of Nicaragua, so you can see some of the beauty again. And I'm whipping through these slides. I wanted you guys to be able to see a little bit about what life in Nicaragua looks like, where people live. And these are very common places that you will see where people reside. This is Dave in the red shirt here. This picture was actually made on our very first trip there. All the pictures that you're seeing in here, we took. None of these pictures are AI or from the internet or whatever. These are all pictures that we took. This is actually a house that we built before it was painted. They had already moved in, but so this is actually a really nice house, but it just hadn't been painted yet. And these are some of the sites in Veracruz, Nicaragua, which is where we actually minister when we go. The picture on the right, you used to see these cyber cafes, they called them, all the time. Now a lot more people have internet, and a lot of the businesses have internet, but 20 years ago when we first started going there, you had to go to a cyber cafe to make a phone call or to get internet, to send an email or what have you. So these were very popular. And the picture on the right here, you probably can't see it because it's kind of small, but this was taken on the property of one of our Veracruz English Academy students, and it's actually a banana tree. There's a big cluster of bananas up there, and we were doing a visit, and we left with a bunch of bananas and some avocados and some limes. And this is another very common sight you'll see in Nicaragua, cattle driving down the road, trying to run into a bus here. The buses are public transportation, and then, of course, a number of churches. And so I wanted to share with you guys that this year we're celebrating 20 years of ministry in Nicaragua, which is really hard to believe, but we began ministry in 2005 with a mission trip that we went on with Compass Community Church, and that's a whole nother God story that we can tell you about later. And then the next couple of years, our focus was really on doing medical and dental clinics. And we worked with 2 main orphanages. Of course, spent a lot of time playing with the kids and having parties and doing outings with the kids. But we also built a preschool at one of the orphanages. We built an infirmary. We did a lot of painting projects, a lot of screening projects, and those types of things with 2 different main orphanages. And in those early years, we were also helping to support 2 people with really major medical issues. So those of you guys who have been around for a while were part of supporting those individuals as well, and you will probably remember them, but those are stories for other times as well. We built a few houses, and we began doing some golf and tennis tournaments for fundraisers. Then in 2008, we developed the first relationship with a partner church. And between the years of 2008 and 2015, the Veracruz Men's Prayer Group was also formed, which we can talk more about if you are at the picnic. And we initiated a sports ministry that started with 80 students, and it was a soccer league. We legally established One by One. The couple of years before that, we were trying to figure all that kind of stuff out and do a couple of different things. But One by One was officially started. And then Veracruz English Academy, which we've talked a lot about in church as well, was also formed. And we started doing a lot of outreach and evangelism projects with our partner churches. Then from 2015 to 2017, we were really facilitating Nicaraguan mission trips with partner Nicaraguan churches. So we were going with our partners in Veracruz, in the churches there, and going out just a little bit, not too far, maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes, to even more impoverished areas, and taking people from the churches there in Veracruz with us to do projects like building outdoor stoves and different things like that. Then during that time period, we also developed a partnership with Worldwide Discipleship Association, and that partnership was really focused on building discipleship within the churches. And also during that time frame, Community Bible Study International began there in Veracruz. Then 2018 came, and there was a lot of civil unrest that you may or may not remember, but between the civil unrest and then COVID, and then there were two back-to-back hurricanes that hit the Puerto Cabezas area, which I mentioned earlier, which was on that upper border, kind of close to Honduras. And so ministry was different. We did continue going, and when I say we, I mean Dave. I was not able to go during that time period because I could go, but I wouldn't be able to get back in the United States, and I wanted to come back. But we did continue mission trips with a focus really on discipleship and on Community Bible Study International. And then from 21 to 22, the focus was really on facilitating mission trips from Veracruz with our partner churches there out to Puerto Cabezas to really do hurricane relief, doing a lot of food distribution, taking medical teams, and providing medical services for those families that had been impacted by the hurricanes. And then, so from 23 to present, we kind of went back to more of our traditional model, and we continued doing medical clinics. Those have all been in partnership with the churches that we partner with there in Veracruz, doing outreach events, continuing leadership and CBSI training with our partner churches, and continued work, obviously, with our Veracruz English Academy. So that's a little bit about One by One. So I'm going to try to breeze through this summer's trip because I'm being told I'm short on time. So Mission Nicaragua, we were almost there. Here, this picture on the left is Mason, not when we first left because we did leave in the dark, but this was early in the morning, and then the picture on the right was late during the day. Again, if you had a direct flight, you'd be there in less than 4 hours. That next morning, Dave woke up and went to the Men of Prayer meeting. If you've read the blog too, you know about a lot of this, so I'm going to zip through this. But this was the Veracruz English Academy field trip that we took to the National Palace, which I showed you the picture of earlier. And on the left here, this is actually Veracruz English Academy. On the right, this is a picture of inside of the National Palace. But the man in the blue in this right-hand picture, he was our tour guide. He told us we'd spend about 3 minutes in each of the 4 rooms. We were there over 2 hours. So he really got into what he was doing. He loved talking about it, but each of the rooms had a different focus on the history of Nicaragua. It was all a museum, and it was really beautiful to see. So we were very thankful that we got to see it. This is a picture of the Mason and the outside of the National Palace, and you can't see it, but this map where Mason and his buddy are says the treasures of Nicaragua, so it shows some of their natural resources and things they consider treasure, and so I had two treasures there in front of the picture of the treasures of Nicaragua, because Mason's half Nicaraguan, of course, and then his buddy is Nicaraguan. So these are just a couple more pictures of the National Palace. And then we were on our way to Puerto Cabezas. And I just wanted you to see the airport. Obviously, this is not an international airport. You land, and you literally walk to the airport on the runway that you just landed on. And then when you leave, you walk through the grass to get to the airplane. So that was kind of a neat experience. This is a couple of pictures of Puerto Cabezas. This is our partner in ministry, Regan, and his wife, Blanca. Regan grew up in Puerto Cabezas, so we were able to go by, and he still has a lot of family there. And this is actually the childhood home where he was born and grew up in, so that was really neat to see that. And while we were there, we got to participate in Verbo Church's feeding program. They were actually having a 3-day camp in conjunction with Young Life of Nicaragua. And we had to leave about 30 minutes before they announced the final head count, but before the end of the day. But they estimated that day there were about 650 kids in attendance. And they just did a fantastic job with that. We wanted you to see the kids bring their bowl and cups that they've received from the church, and they're responsible for bringing the bowl and the cup every day to be filled up with food and drink. And if you read the blog, you read about the clowns, so I won't talk about that. Do want to say really quickly that this is a view of Puerto Cabezas Orthopedic Center and Pharmacy. About 5 years ago, One by One partnered with Dr. Espinoza, who you see here. This is he and his wife, and we helped them get the orthopedic center off the ground. It's the first one that they have in Puerto Cabezas, and you can see on the right-hand side they have a pharmacy. In addition to being an orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Espinoza also sees anybody, regardless of whether they are able to pay or not. He sees anybody for general medical needs, so not just orthopedic needs. In the clinic that's there, they've already done phase 1 and phase 2, so they've already busted out a wall and added some additional rooms, and you can see this is phase 3 on the back. And their dream is to add phase 4, which is to add a X-ray machine. The X-ray machine costs about $100,000, and then they would need about $50,000 to build an extra area where they would add a couple of additional patient rooms. So that's the dream for phase 4, and that's about $150,000 total. But an orthopedic clinic without an X-ray machine, there's only one X-ray machine in Puerto Cabezas, and that's at the hospital. And it takes weeks to get an appointment to be able to go in to get the X-ray, and then it takes a week or 2 to get your results. So it's very difficult and challenging. And I know I'm really short on time. So this is the church that we went to in Puerto Cabezas. This is Dr. Espinoza's church. Dave was able to share the message there that day, and Regan translated. And these are just old friends and new. I just wanted to share about the family real quick. This is Fredeling and Joseph that Dave's holding their baby. Fredeling was... she lived at Casa Bernabe Orphanage and grew up there. Joseph was the son of a friend of ours that goes to one of our first partner church, and they ended up married and having a baby. Dave was able to attend the wedding last year. I was not, but now they have a little baby on the way, and Mason made a new friend as well, the daughter of a good friend of ours at Principe de Paz Church. And then we were able to spend 3 days with the students at Veracruz English Academy, so I'll breeze through those. And the other big thing that we did was a Community Bible Study International training. These were our 3 trainers. The trainer on the left is actually the national director for CBSI in Nicaragua. And then the other 2 is a husband and wife team. She's a doctor, he's a pharmacist. They closed down their clinic to come and do this. All the CBS workers are all volunteer workers, and they do that because they love sharing God's word. And these are just some of the activities that we were doing during the training. And I'll just breeze through these because I keep getting words. So thank you for your attention. And I think we're going to move to Uganda.
Wow, give it up for Katie. Felt like I was at an auction. You did a good job. It's so much good stuff going on, and you're just like, how do I communicate it all? So thank you for that. Guys, of course, if you want to hear more about anything that God's doing in Nicaragua, talk to Dave and Katie. We've got a couple hours out at the park this afternoon for just such a thing. We're going to spend a little bit of time in Uganda, so that's on the other side of the Atlantic. My wife is going to tell us about that. She's got her missionary skirt on, so I should have worn my missionary shirt. When I was in middle school and high school, going to my Christian school, we had missionaries come and speak. And you knew they were a missionary because the old guy was always wearing the missionary shirt. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. Yes, very nice. Thank you. All right, my wife is ready.
Anyone recognize these people? So David and I started coming to faith in 2001 when it was just the 2 of us. A dozen years later, we left and moved to Uganda. This is a picture from our first week there. I thought my boys would be in here to be embarrassed by the picture, but they're not. So that was our family in 2013 when we moved to Uganda. The last family photo we took before we moved back here is from the Christmas before we moved back in the summer. We came back in the summer of 2023, yes. Our family changed over that time. We have 2 kids who kind of lived with us for many years. They're young adults living in Uganda now. Evie joined our family during that time, and my kids look a little different than they did 10 years earlier. This summer, these are the clowns who traveled with me. Evie and Zeke went primarily to reconnect with missionary kids there. Missionary kids have a lot of transition in their life, a lot of people coming and going, and it's really good to have someone who knows you and loves you to come back and show that they're still committed to your relationship. And so that was a real blessing. So our kids, Evie and Zeke, mostly spent time hanging out with other missionary kids, playing games, having fun, just reconnecting and doing great things. My time was primarily spent with this woman, Priva, who leads our ministry in Buwundo Village. Priva is one of the first people we met when we got to Uganda. That picture, the original picture, she was at that compound working at that house as a housekeeper and a cook. And during the time then when that family left, she started working for our family and then went through training, became a social worker, went through more training to become a Bible study leader, and is now overseeing this ministry. Buwundo Women's Ministry has really grown. When I started just doing Bible study with a few of my neighbors in the village, it was like 12 women sitting around just talking about the Word of God together. And I wasn't doing great because, it's not my first language. It was challenging. So we met for Bible study. Now there's like 300 women that meet for Bible study. After Bible study, Priva also has a topical discussion time because she, as a Ugandan, knows some of the issues and challenges that Ugandans face. So there's a lot of false teachers, and so she has kind of gone through some training with them and had some local pastors who we trust to share about how to identify false teachers, like people who ask you to pay money so that they can pray for you, or then you will get some miracle, lots of promises and prosperity gospel and all of that. There's also like trauma healing that the women just went through. There's a lot of hard things that some of the women in this community have been through. And to have a biblical perspective on how to process trauma, how to grieve, but also how to forgive is a beautiful thing. And that's something that they've been walking through together as well. And then also just addressing issues of witchcraft. I know that sounds kind of bizarre to us, but when someone in the village is sick, it's very common to go to the traditional healer, the witch doctor. And so Priva's been trying to help educate the women about what the Bible says about that, but also providing services with health education, like a doctor coming and saying, this is how you get rid of malaria. You take the full dose, not just the first 2 that you can afford, or you don't go to the witch doctor and have them put some funny things and do some funny prayers. There's also a savings group. Actually, I have pictures coming up about these other things, so I'm going to move on with these photos. So this is a picture. Some of you, if you get my email updates, you may have seen this. This is when I gathered with the women while we were there. The savings groups are a way, these women don't have access to a bank. If you're saving some money at home for something, and your neighbor, your family member, someone is sick, you're expected to contribute to help get them well. And so saving is kind of impossible because the needs around are constant. And so this is a community-based way of saving where everybody contributes a certain amount, and each week a different person takes the savings and then they buy something that is needed for their family. Sometimes it's like a goat to start raising goats. Sometimes it's a mattress because they've been sleeping on the dirt floor. You know, it's something that's needed for their family. And it's kind of a beautiful communal way to save. Priva, I was talking to her yesterday about if she were here, what would she want me to share? Or what would she share? And she talked about this woman, Zuena Nabirie, and she grew up in a Muslim family. She is also married to a Muslim. She's had high blood pressure, hypertension for many years, and she got so sick from that. She was having speech problems. She was not healthy in many ways. And she was saying, no one from the Muslim community came to visit me, prayed for me, did anything. But when I joined this women's group, you took me for medical care, and she had to contribute something, but we also contribute part of it. And then I recovered. You showed me love. You came and visited me at my home. And I want that kind of love in my life. So now I want to follow Jesus. So she's walking with the Lord. And it's just beautiful to see this kind of holistic way of caring for and showing love to the women in the community and the fruit of that in their lives. They also provide literacy classes. One of the women is a retired teacher, and she teaches the women to read. There's a lot of women who never went to school. Some like really old women, some young women who never learned to read. I got to go sit in this beginner class. I have a little video clip. I'm not going to play it, but if you want to see it, it's so fun. But these women all wanted to show me that they now knew how to write their names. And they all walked up front, and they were cheering for one another once they wrote their name on the board. It's something that I couldn't even imagine. There's also an afternoon literacy class where once they've learned letters and sounds and how to write their names, then they go to the afternoon, the advanced class, where they practice reading the Bible passage that they're going to be studying the next week in their group Bible study. And it's really beautiful to see. They're like sounding out each word and trying to understand the meaning of the words. And this is a woman in the group who's a retired teacher who just volunteers her time to teach these classes. It's beautiful. There's also a lot of conflict resolution as a social worker. Priva was trained in counseling, and she meets with family members who are struggling. She shared with me last week about a husband and wife who've been reunited and after some conflict in their marriage. And it was just beautiful to hear about that aspect of her ministry as well. She always goes with another woman who is local in the area. And so they're these kind of small group leaders so that it's not just her, but she's also equipping someone else to serve in those ways. The woman in this picture was blind. We went on this trip. I went with Priva to visit her, and she had severe cataracts. And one eye, she had another problem that was not able to be resolved, but Priva took her. Her family said, she's old. You don't need to care for her. And she didn't have children to care for her. And so Priva asked, would you permit us to just take her to the doctor? And they did, and they found out that she could have cataract surgery on one of her eyes, and now she can see. and is able to walk without a cane and is praising God. So the women in the group have been identified her as someone in their community in need, even more than they are. Even though some of them have very little, they saw her as someone in need. And one of the women said she would go and stay with her at the hospital. You can't just send someone to the hospital because no one's there to take care of basic needs. You have to feed the person and change the person or whatever, all of the things that are needed. They just do the surgery and then leave them to recover. So that is mostly about Bwundo Women's Ministry. This is a separate ministry. It's called Living Hope Tailoring Ministry, and the guy in the red, his name is Big David, and he's someone we met when we first visited Uganda, just David and I before we moved there, and he was taught how to sew and was given this skill and later on in life, and he wants to share that with those in his community. He worked at GSF for many years, but he can't get to and from because he has problems with his legs from polio and can't move very easily, but he can sew. So he has opened up this tailoring center, and many of you here have contributed for this building so that they were just outside and they'd have to carry these machines. I'll show you the machines. They've got the foot pedal, so it's carrying these heavy machines with the foot pedal in and out, and things were breaking. But now they have a building and a clean place to work, and it's really encouraging. The only thing remaining on that building that's needed is a water harvesting and a toilet, basically, a latrine. The water harvesting is because right now they walk about 10 minutes to fetch water. Big David can't do that, so he has to send the students, and they're coming and going to fetch water. No, there's no running water there. So they want to put gutters on the building and a big tank like this one to collect the water when it rains so that they have a water source nearby. And that will be a little over $1,000 to do that. And then they want to put in latrines because currently the students and Big David, he has to go somewhere to get to a toilet where he can sit because most latrines are just squat over a hole. And so they want to put in an actual toilet so that he can work and not have to spend most of his time coming and going to go use the bathroom. So that is, the final remaining need there is $5,000. The women's ministry project, this is the building, and it is really close to completion. It's really beautiful to see what's going on. When I was there on this trip, part of my going was, let's talk about, do we really need a building? Why do you think this is important? And so I sat down with Priva and tried to ask some questions like, well, could you just meet at the local church? And she said, well, actually, the Muslim women who can come and attend can't come and meet at the local church. Their families won't allow it. And so they are permitted to come to our Bible study because their families are benefiting from the savings group, but they wouldn't be permitted if we met at a church. And so we need a separate place because when it rains, also there's a woman whose latrine is having 300 women every week come use it. So how to pray for the women's ministry. I asked Priva how to pray. This is what she said. For wisdom and strength for her, praising God for unity in the group, thanking God for the opportunity to help and serve one another. Namayanja is the woman who's seeing, and Kome is a neighbor of ours who was not walking and can walk again because he's got medical care. Thanking God for good relationships. Pray for us to always use money wisely, that we'd be able to complete the building. and for wisdom in caring for people with ongoing needs. Specifically for the Muslims in the group, many are faithful in the Bible study, the first ones arriving every week, but it's challenging for them to speak publicly about their beliefs. So you can continue to pray, and thank you. Also, there's stuff out there. That's just gifts to thank you for you guys praying for us and supporting us.
Thank you. All right, we'll ask the Mission to Mexico team to be coming forward. Yes, so again, so much to report, and I just gave you 10 minutes. I'm really sorry. That's what we had. But feel free to, as with Katie and Dave, please feel free to follow up with Lisa. They would love to talk more about what God is doing in Uganda. Our church also sent a team to Mexico this past summer, and we got a few folks up here who are going to share about that. Jesse, are you ready to roll? I think so. All right.
All right, so we've got a couple of people that are going to speak. We took a very large group to Mexico this summer, and we're just going to have some slides playing in the background. This is just a handful of pictures that we were able to pull together. But Jeremy Anthony's going to come up and kind of give you the meat of the story for what we did this summer. But before he does that, I wanted to just give a little bit of a background, because our church has been partnering with Shalom Presbyterian Church and actually sending missions teams down to Shalom every other year for well over 30 years now. And so there are people in our church that have actually helped build and expand Shalom Presbyterian Church. Shalom actually oversees a K through 12 school called Blas Pascal. And there are members of our church over the last 30 years that have built and expanded Blas Pascal. And so we do things like we did this summer where we go out into the community, but we have also done kind of foundational things in Merida. So the efforts out of Shalom are led by a man and his wife named Gabi and Norma Glory, and they work for Shalom, and they also work under a nonprofit called Reformed Evangelical Fellowship. So that's how we kind of partner with them for resources. Gabi also oversees the school, and we are fortunate to have our very own Sarah Weinrich, who is Philip's daughter, as a full-time missionary in Merida. She teaches English at Blas Pascal, and I think recently took over as the department head for Blas Pascal, which is a great educational opportunity, but it's also a great opportunity to share the love of Jesus in a community in Merida. So we go down there every other year for a week. We are one of many churches that go through Shalom Presbyterian Church over kind of the summer mission season. So Gabi works as a partnership through Shalom. He takes applications from many churches in the area, in the state of the Yucatan, and works with churches, pastors. There's a lot of small churches that have traveling pastors, and those traveling pastors can apply for resources through Shalom. And they have a vetting process, and they make sure that it's a legitimate need. They make sure that the church is kind of has long-term roots and that it won't be wasted resources. But then he says, okay, Faith Presbyterian Church, I've got a need lined up. Here's the financial need. Here's the people resources that we need, and here's kind of your date. And we say, yes, sir, and we fly down there, and we go. So 2 years ago was the first summer that my family went. Sarah, I didn't even know you were here, Sarah. Okay. So 2 years ago was the summer that I went. So we flew down, and we went about 2 hours east. So if you look at Mexico, it kind of comes down and like comes back up into the Gulf of America, I guess. And it's kind of right there on that point, and that's the Yucatan. And we went 2 hours east to a small village in the middle of nowhere. This year, we actually went 2 hours south to a town called Tecash, Mexico, and we partnered with the Prince of Peace Church in Tecash, Mexico, and we did some good work. So Jeremy's going to tell us about that now.
So some stats of the trip: there were 41 participants, pretty equally split between children and adults. We were led by Brian Atkinson. There were a lot of natural leaders, but I think if someone got left in Mexico, Brian would ultimately have the responsibility. There were 4 complete families: the Atkinsons, Hessenthalers, Painters, and Saygraves. We had a medical team. There was a diabetes doctor, which was not useful. There was an eye doctor, which was occasionally useful. There was a nurse, Melissa, who held the trip together, and a nursing assistant and a painter who really did the majority of the work. So very grateful for the nursing staff. There was a blog that kind of went on during the week that hopefully you got to read that really went through some of the details, but I'm going to give kind of a broad overview today. So logistics of travel, moving these 41 people, there were 8 days. We had 4 plane rides, 4 bus rides, 2 Mexican tourist train rides, which you'll see up here, a dozen motorbike taxi rides, and daily van trips to get us around. Of the 7 nights, 5 we slept in beds, and 2 we slept in hammocks. Sleeping is a relative term. I think hammocks are an acquired taste. So what we did, as Jesse said, there was, through Gabby and that ministry, they kind of identified a need, and so we went to a church called Principe de Paz, which was in Takash, south of Merida. And so this church, you can see they've been working on it for 9 years. And so we came in and we laid the floor and painted the walls. And so the building was probably maybe 60 meters by 20 meters. But all we know is there were 7 rows of concrete to pour. So a fairly large church. Most importantly, it had a roof already, which was nice because it kept the sun off of us. So it was a very nice working environment. This was right across the street from the current church, which was, they had kind of a green space, and then the church was held in these breezeways with pews, and then on the side there were church offices for meeting, and then the parsonage was right there. So it's directly across from there. So we mixed and poured concrete. We had 65 bags of concrete, and we did the floor, the stage, a driveway, and then a little patio, and then we painted the walls and column of the church. What was neat is that we worked alongside the church members. After work every day, we'd go clean up and then do VBS in Spanish. And really the progression of the week is what I found to be the most encouraging. When we came, we were welcomed by the church members. After a long day of travel, we pull up to the hotel, and there's a big group. And it's many members of the church with signs welcoming us. One said, "Welcome, beloved brothers," and a lot of smiles shared and some Spanish. The very next day was Sunday, and they kind of took us to this park they had reserved. It had some pools and a big covered area, and we sang songs together, and they sang and we clapped, and then there was worship and some speaking and prayers, and then we just spent the afternoon getting to know them, playing games, very fun-loving. And so by the time work started on Monday, we already had Sunday night we went to church and worshiped with them. And they had several choirs of youth, children, adults, young adults, that kind of sang some special songs for us. And it was wonderful to get to kind of worship with them. So when we started work on Monday, the guy to your left you kind of had some familiarity with. And so as far as the work, it's pouring concrete. And I'd be just encouraged, I was very encouraged by the work ethic of the team members here, especially the young adults. The high schoolers wanted to be at the front of the line doing the hardest work, and were kind of a little taken aback if you suggested they take a break. So, but very hard-working crew. It was a very intergenerational trip, so it was neat seeing the older kids mentor the younger kids, adults, influencing others. So that's what it was just neat to see us all working together. The VBS, that was a Spanish program written by our youth. I think Lily, James, and Noah. Several of the youth wrote VBS in Spanish, and it was sharing the redemptive story of God using the story of Moses. Our 3 kind of speakers were Lily, who spoke the most correct Spanish, James, who had the most enthusiastic Spanish, and Noah probably laughed the most of all of them. And then there were crafts afterwards and time to play soccer. And we had a lot of buy-in from the community, and so that was a very encouraging time. After VBS, we had several group devotional times and some small group prayer time. And probably one of the most encouraging things was after our last morning of work, we all gathered in the church building. Most of the church was there. We kind of stood alternating, American, Mexican, held hands, and we sang songs, both in English and Spanish, and then some English and Spanish together, particularly How Great Thou Art and the doxology. And it was very beautiful, singing the same tunes but in different languages. We prayed. We thanked them for their hospitality, and they thanked us for coming. And they gave us a letter that Brian's going to share with us. But this being my first trip, what I was most encouraged about was the multi-generational sort of nature of serving. And I think we all got to know each other better and were encouraged in our walk. So, and then we had a little bit of fun too, but it was all fun.
Yes, thank you, Jesse and Jeremy. As we got to go, the trip was big, and we just felt so blessed by having so many people from our church go and being supported by our church. It was such a blessing. I've been able to go to Uganda. I've been able to go now to Mexico twice, and just every time we go, I feel like we grow deep in our faith, and it's really neat to see the youth get vested and involved in this. Sarah especially being down there, it's good to go and see her and encourage her and just be with her family there and take her family here down there. And as Jeremy mentioned just prior to leaving, we got to join hands and sing in English and Spanish with that group. And just to hear two different languages coming together to pray and to sing, it just seemed like a little picture of heaven. So it's just really encouraging. Let's see here. Yeah, and then as we left, the pastor there gave us a little letter he wanted to read to the church here to share. And this is from their session, especially session member Raul, who helped with us the whole week, and then Pastor Jose. And it says, "Beloved brothers and sisters in Christ, Prince of Peace Church wholeheartedly thanks you for all of the help and support you have given us to continue the construction of the new sanctuary," which Jeremy alluded to this point has taken 9 years, so thankfully we were able to go and help advance the construction there. "We would like to tell you so many things that we have in our hearts for you, but there are no human words to adequately express our gratitude. We hope that the Lord, our God, Jesus Christ, continues to use and strengthen you in this great ministry for the honor and glory of his name. We will continue to pray for you as well." So again, thank you guys for sending us. We appreciate your support, and hope to do it again in a few years. All right, David's going to finish us out here.
All right, thank you guys for your attention. I just want to add on to that and just say that if you want to go to Mexico, Uganda, or Nicaragua, you can. Talk to these people. The Lord is raising up the next generation of missionaries through trips like this. These are impactful for those who go. Yeah, we go and do some good for the people there. I hope it's helpful. But it's him working in us and developing a heart for the world. And that is really, in my mind, a major part of what this is about. So I don't know when everybody's going again next, but if this is something that you think, I really want to be a part of that, please talk to them. They'd love to have you. Just a couple of quick things, announcements. A couple months ago, this came out, okay? It's the new directory, got everybody's picture in it. And then today, we have passing this out. Together, these would sort of be like the yearbook of faith. Maybe we should consider putting it into a yearbook. You could get everybody to sign it, have a great summer kind of stuff. I'm not going to go through this in great detail, but as Nathan already said, the stuff that we have done is recapped. The stuff that we're going to do is planned. There are dates in here about the fall retreat, the next missions conference. It's all in here. So feel free to talk to any of the staff about it. But anyway, this is a resource for you. English as a second language is starting this coming week. Wednesday night, we have an ice cream social, and the next week, the classes start. If you want to get involved in helping with this, that'd be great. We'd love to have you. It's Tuesday nights and Wednesday mornings, and we have a great opportunity to minister to the nations right here. Men's event, Friday, what is it, 22nd? 22nd, okay? Right here at the church, don't forget that. If you're looking around and thinking, my picture's not in here, and I don't feel like I'm involved yet, people don't know who I am, a great way to help you is to fill out one of these. If your information's wrong in the thing, fill this out, and we'll get everything corrected and get you on the emailing list and all that. Okay, after the late service, go buy your bucket of chicken and meet us at Herman C. Michael Park, because we're going to play pickleball and volleyball, and some people are going to play sit in the shade and chit-chat. That's a great game. One thing I know about this church is we love to visit, and we've all been running in a dozen different directions all summer, right? Traveling and vacations and all that stuff. And now it's like back, and let's reconnect. Let's catch up together. The church is providing the drinks, tea, water, maybe some lemonade, I don't know. But you guys need to bring the food, bring a blanket, bring your chairs, and definitely bring your volleyball and your pickleball stuff. Anything else that I'm forgetting? Any other announcements? I don't think so. All right, so the late service is going to start here in just a few minutes. So if you're sticking around for that, stay put. If not, get out of here, because we're going to... All right, thanks. See you guys.